Okay, so hi everyone. So you may not have seen me because I take that Friday session, 8 o'clock session. So I have some part left actually on that day. So I told I'll just quickly complete that part. So anyhow, this part will be like streamed. So I'll share the link with others so that they can afterwards look into it. Uh, 1 minute. I'll just provide the link in the calendar. Okay. Okay, this is done. Um, okay. So there are two things basically I wanted to discuss. One is that designing security for the classes using the inner class concept, the private class concept, right? So that is one thing. And second thing, like I wanted to show that equals method. Equals method, I think everyone discussed, but afterwards, like I need to like, also explain this hash code function. Whenever I'll go into the collection, other other different kind of hash table and etc, like which are the collection type. uh, Actually hash table is not a collection type. We are having some uh, linked list which are hash type, right? So those we'll discuss there. It will be required actually. uh, so let me share my screen quickly. I'll finish it up so that Diptansh, you can start. Okay, can you confirm my screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So um let me do the equal first part first. Okay, so now what I can do, say I'm showing a first a thing. Suppose I have a class A and having a class B which extends A. Then we am having a class C which extends A, and there is a class D. Now if you look at this uh, the relation between the classes, right? So if you look at this, A is the superclass, B and C are subclass, and D is a class, but it is not related with the this ABC hierarchy, right? It's a separate class. Now we'll try to learn an operator in Java, which calls an instance of operator, right? So what we do, we keep the object name, then we ask instance of the particular class. So is it an instance of? So I'm asking the compiler, sorry, I'm asking the runtime, is it an instance of bird class, right? So if it is true, it returns a true, otherwise it will return a false. But there are certain restrictions of instance of, so that afterwards we'll learn something called as a type of whenever we'll go into the reflection. So we'll try to understand, but this instance of is more useful, you'll find in future. So that is what I want to show you, rather what are the restrictions to use instance of. Okay. So let me start with this public static void main. I'll quickly uh, have all these things. Okay. So mm, let me have an object of D. I say new D, right? Now I ask if obj is an instance of D, or I can directly print it so that it will print true or false, right? Within if else also I can do the things, uh, or I can just print. So it prints a true. If it is a true, means it is really an instance of D. Otherwise, it is supposed to return a false. Okay. So what happened? Oh, sorry. So in this case, it writes a true. Yes, obj really is an object of D. But see, whenever I'm use a different class, say I say class A, so now it's basically showing an compiler error. It say it's a typecasting error, but I want to show it in a different way. Now suppose I create an object of C, right? I create an object of C. Now, if I ask if it is an object of C, it's not a problem. Everybody knows it will say yes, right? Now, if I say if it is object of B, right? If it is an object of B, it will again say it is a typecasting error. Now, if I ask if it is an object of A, it says true. It says true. Just see the instance, then I'll ask the question. Okay. Now let it is a object, right? Now I ask, is it object of A? It say yes. Now I check out if it is an object of B. It do not show an error, but it returns a false. Even if I say object of C, it do not show any error, but show a false. Now, can you tell me how it's basically operate when it fails? It gives a compiler error. When it returns a true, when it returns the false. The first thing, if the classes are unrelated, then they're not typecastable, right? We cannot do a type conversion between two classes if they are not belongs to the same hierarchy, right? So that's a typecasting error. It's basically a compiler error. Secondly, even if it is in the same hierarchy, I can do a typecasting between the parent and child. But if you want to typecast between two child, you have to go through the parent. So from C you can typecast to A, then from A you can typecast to B, but from C to B you cannot go directly. What I'm saying, if you want to typecast a type of C to B, that's not directly possible. But you can obviously do C to A, then A to B, right? So it has to be through the parent. So simple understanding, the typecasting is possible between parent and child, superclass and subclasses in Java. It's in generally everywhere in Java. If you want to do a type conversion, you should have a between the classes, not I'm not talking about the primitive data type. You should have a parent-child relationship. Even the child-child, that is also not possible. You should have a common parent and child. Okay. So that's how. If I create an object of A, that's definitely an object of A, but it is not an object of C. It is not an object of C. But if I just reverse this, suppose I say it is an object of C, then it's a true. But if I say object of A, still it will say it is true. Why it is?
Because A is parent of C.
Yeah, it is basically again that subtype concept, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. So all the objects of B are basically the objects of A, right? Because all the capabilities of A is there in B and C, but all the capabilities of B and C are not available on A, right? So that's how you can move from A to B or A to C. So if you have a B's object or C object, that can be represented by a reference, right? But if you have an object of A, that cannot be handled by a reference of B and C. So you support upward casting, you do not support downward casting. More analogically, you can say every football is a ball, but all the balls are not footballs, right?
Yes.
So all the C's are A. So all the objects of C's are object of A, but all the objects of A are not object of C. Okay. So this is the
Yes.
primitive concept. So again, the first thing, instance of can be used whenever there is a relationship in a parent-child way, right? Otherwise, conversion is not possible. Instance of is not usable. So in that case, you have to use a different kind of function, which we'll see later in the reflection. Okay. Now I'll go for this equals method. So previously I have discussed that whatever the classes right now we use, right? This system dot, right? Then out is basically an object, system is a class, right? So these are all belongs to this java.lang package. So Java is a package, lang is a sub package, right? So if you don't import like explicitly don't ask for any package, you're basically supposed to use all the all the classes which are there in this java.lang package. So uh, basically there is an object. So if you go for the Java documentation, so I have told you always try to use this Java documentation, because whenever you may face a problem during the OP, this might be very helpful, right, for you. So, so if you go here, so inside java.lang, there is a class inside lang called as an object, right? So whatever the class you create or it's already there, all basically inherits implicitly this object class, right? So if you don't create a parent class, you already have a default parent, that's the object class. Now inside object class, there are several methods. So some methods we have discussed. We have discussed basically this toString method previously, right? Today we want to discuss this method which is equals, right? Then this will be discussed in week 7 or something, and this is there in week 9. So we'll do them one by one. So today it's equals. Um, Let us take it out. Okay. Class. I'm having a class employee. You can see it, right? It's visible to everyone.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So I have private. I told it's a good practice to keep everything encapsulated, right? So I'll have a EID, then private string name. Then I can have a public constructor. So I'm not creating a default constructor here. I'm just going for a parameterized constructor. So if you have listened the last class carefully, I told whenever you're extending a class, it is always a good practice to create both the parameterized constructor as well as default constructor, because if you call the child constructor, by default calls to go to the parents default constructor. So if you don't write the default constructor, it might be a compiler error for you. So I can have this I, and if I can have a string n, then I can have eid equal to I, then I'll have this name equal to n. So this is my constructor, and I can have, okay, I don't require a print statement because I'm not going to use it. My point is to check the equals function. So I want to test it if two employee objects are equals or not, right? What do you mean by equals, right? That is also important. So public static void main string args. So first I create an employee object e1 equal to new employee. So suppose I have 10 and abcd, and then we have 20, and we'll have xyz, right? So now I say if e1 equals e2, right? If they're the same object, what I'm checking, if they're the same object. Now you can ask the question from where I'm getting equals this class, this method, right? This is a method. I haven't written anywhere this equals method, but as I told, this employee class is by default extending which class? The object class. And inside the object class, you have all this equals, toString, all these methods are predefined. Just 1 minute. Huh? So these methods equals and all, they are predefined inside uh, this object class. So you're by default inheriting it. You don't have to define it explicitly until and unless it is necessary. So I want to print system dot out dot println. So if they're equals, I'll say true. Yes, they're equals. Otherwise, I'll say I don't have to put this parenthesis or this braces. It's not required, right? Just one line. So I can get rid of it. And if it is not equals, I'll say false. I run the code. It says false. That's sensible, right? It's false because there are two different employees. Their values are also different, right? Does it make sense,
Yeah.
everyone? How equals
Yes,
is
sir.
and
Yes, sir.
equals haven't defined, it is given by the object class. Okay. So now let's make the values same. Now value wise they are equal, but now they are saying a false. Why this is? Anyone?
They are indicating to two different locations.
Yeah. So E1 and E2 basically pointing to two different objects, right? Let me fetch
Yes.
my notepad once. 1 minute, huh? Let me fetch it once.
Yes, sir.
Easier for me to explain this. 1 minute. Oh my God. Okay, I got it. So the screen is visible, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Okay. So suppose this is the stack, right? So if I call the main function, here there will be an activation record for main, right? This is the activation record for main, right? So inside that there are two variables. The references are nothing but local variables, right? So as you know, these local variables get stored into this memory, right? This is E1, suppose this is E2. And this dynamic allocation will have from some area which is called a heap. Suppose this is the heap area, right? Now, whenever I called for this new with the constructor, that means I'm going to create an instance of employee class. So that means I'll have an instance created over here, which will have the values for the name and IDs. And this E1 basically points to this. So similarly, whenever again I call new employee, that means I'm asking to create a new object again, right? And it's basically points to this, right? Now, whenever we compare through a equals between two objects, it's basically do the checking on the location where they're pointing to, right? And that is basically, I just, no, I need this too. Just to system dot out dot println print. Suppose I just print E1. Let's see what happens. Similarly, I want to print E2. So this basically gives you the location information actually, right? So, right. So this is basically a hash code. We'll discuss that. So it's basically created at two different hash location, right? So the location is different. That's why it's giving the different thing. Now, Since you have seen this, if I do now employee E2 equal to E1, now what will happen?
It will be true.
It will
Yeah.
be true, because now if I say that, that means E2 and E1 basically pointing to the same object, right? So if I run this, right? If you run this, you are getting a true. And similarly, you can find out this location hashed information, whatever you are getting, that exactly same, right? So it is clear it's based on the object location, right? It's nothing else. Okay. Now, where is this hash code function? This hash code function is here, right? We don't want to discuss this, but I want to show one thing here. Um, because we will be needing this. It's a difficult thing. We usually, this hash code part, we don't know, normally don't ask the question, but for interviews and all, maybe you will have some knowledge on this, right? Okay, so this is the hash code. So you can find out this hash code is exactly same, right? So it's basically do the calculation on this hash code, this equality. So anyhow, and this value you are getting over here, that's basically based on this, some calculation on this. Okay. Whatever you're getting over here. Okay. Now, I have also shown you how to create a copy constructor, right? So copy constructor basically copy an object. That's if you pass an employee object over here, suppose it's a E, then the local object means what object you're creating, you can initialize it with the values what you have inside E, means whatever the values you're copying. So your n becomes a E dot name. So now instead of doing this, if I say employee E2 equal to new employee E1, right? So I'm opening up over again. Now what will happen? Now what will happen?
It will be true.
Now what is happening? Look at over here. Suppose I have my E1. This is my E2, right? Now what is happening? Whenever I say E1 equal to new employee, so it creates a object, right? Inside object, it's write the values 10 and this A, B, C, D, right? And make this once over here, right? Now, whenever I'm going for employee to, again, I use a new employee. That means again, I want to going to create an object, right? So E2 will points to this. But what I say differently, I say get the values from E1. So I pass it V1 as an object, as an argument, and I copy the thing. So that's saying you copy from here to here, you copy it from here to here. So you'll have this 10 and ABCD. So does it means the location of E1 and E2 are same?
No, no. Location will be
No,
there.
right? So
Yes.
that means if I run, what will be the output? It should be false, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm doing what? We have done the method overriding, right? Before I can override a method, right?
Yes, sir.
So since it is already defined inside the parent, why not I redefine it? Because I want to do the checking not based on the location. Suppose I have certain criterias on which I depend on that I'll define, right? So I'll have this public, then I'll have boolean equals, because it returns a true and false. I get it as an object, right? Because I don't know what kind of value will be passed. So it could be an employee type, it could be any other types also, right? So if I have this, where is it? Where is it? Equals. Yeah. So it takes an object type. Why it is object type? Anybody? Because this object, this equals can check the equality between two birds, two employees, two footballs, right? So the argument can be any type of object. The argument can be of any type of object. Since the parent type can refer to any, since the parent type can refer to any child object, I make it generic, right? So it will accept any type of object. It will accept any type of object. Now the problem is now, here exactly I want to compare between two employees because my current object, so how I'm calling? I'm calling it E1 equals E2. So E2 I'm passing. So this obj becomes a E2. Did you get why I made it object?
Yes, sir.
I'm passing here the employee object, right?
Yeah.
I can pass a bird object, I can pass a manager object, I can pass any object. It has to receive it. So it's a generic function. Like I told, this object class will be inherited by all the classes. So this function has to be used by all the classes. How do I know in advance what kind of object will be compared with? I don't know. So I do what? I say it's an object type. Since it is a parent type reference can refer to, so it's actually what is happening. It's basically making it's like an assignment. OB equal to E2, right? Now E2 is an employee type, which is a child type. Child type can be referred by a reference of parent type in a simple way. Okay. Now my problem is, since E1 I know that is an employee type, and employee could be compared with employee only, right? I don't want it to be compared with any other type. So that's impractical for equality. So that's no at the beginning only. So how do I check that obj what I'm passing, like this E2, that is also employee type? So what I have to use?
Instance of.
Instance of. I can use instance of because this employee is an child of an object class. So any class you pass, that's a child of your object class, right? So I want to specifically check if it is an instance of employee class. If it is, then I have to do all the checking. Otherwise, I'll say return false. That's not equal. So I mean to say the employee cannot be compared with the student. Employee cannot be compared with the car, right? Employee can be only compared with the employee. So if this is returning a false, then the class do not match. I'll directly say returns a false. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
So next thing I have to do now, last day, if you have last day or last day, I was talking about this upcasting and downcasting. If parent, you want to cast a child type to parent type, it's a implicit casting, but a parent type to a child type, it's a explicit casting. So what you want to do, you want to convert this object to an employee type so that it could be checked with a employee type, right? So what I do here, I want to create a employee equal to OB. But the problem is here, this is a parent type, this is a child type. So this is going to be a downcasting, right? So that's why it should be done explicitly. It should be done explicitly. I have done this program before. If you cannot remember, go back to last recording. So where you can see all this, right? So this is I'm typecasting the object type to employee type. Now I can compare the things. Now I say if their roll number, sorry, ID and name both are same, then they're same, right? Means I want to verify them as a value. So as I was doing before, as I was doing before. So if they're having the same value, then I'll say this logically equal for me, right? So how do I do? If I say E dot EID is equal to EID, means current object ID. So that can be also referred as a this dot. I haven't told this yet. So that's I'm just writing as a EID for the timing, but I should have told you this before doing this. Let us don't discuss that right now. So a string comparison, you have to use this equals. So what exactly it is doing? So the object I'm comparing with, that's basically here as per this is E2. E2 is nothing but obj, right? But obj type is object type. I'm getting back into an employee type. So E is nothing but E2. And the current object on which you are calling it, right? That's basically this or the current object. So if I don't refer to anything, that means you're calling on this E1, your current object. So current object EID and E2's EID, if they're equal, the current object's name and E2's name, if they're equals, then I want to say they're equal object, right? But if they're not matching, I'll say return false. Now see this code. Sorry, this is OB, right? This is object, right? Now see it's telling true. Even I have this situation, right? So it's now not doing it on a location. So this location comparison, it's written on the object class equals method. But you are not using that, you have redefined it. You are overriding the definition of equals. So now you are saying, I'll pass an employee object and I have an employee object. I'll compare both the things. If the ID and the name both are equals, I'll say those objects are equal. Otherwise, I'll say the objects are not equal. Right? So here, when I go back to the first, and even you can see these locations are not same, right? So we have overridden that thing, right? We are not using the location things right now. Now I have completely two objects, but the values are same. If I run this, so still I get equals, right? This will catch as an error, not error, sorry, false. Now suppose your program demands a logic. A employee can enlist with a different name, but what does it matter? That your employee ID has to be same. If employee ID is equal, I don't check for any other things. I'll say they are equal, right? So in that case, as my programming logic say, if employee IDs are equal, then they are same employee, right? So I can just mention this. So as per my logic, this means it's a true. So even I have different names for them since the EID is the same. It's a true. Still the locations are different, right? It is very important for any Java programmer, very important for your quizzes, very important for your OP anywhere, right? So some functions, this equals to string, you'll be needing everywhere. Please thorough with them. So do you have any question from this?
No, sir.
Okay, so I'll move to the next program then. So I want to discuss this inner class concepts, but since professor also not gone into very details into the nested class, I also want to. So his purpose was to understand what is the use of the inner class to enhance the security of the entire object-oriented programming, right? So he used a railway booking system, right? So let us go for that kind of system only. So I say you have this IRCTC portal kind of thing, right? So I say railways portal. So I have a portal service. So there are several things over there I can do. So I have some code over here. So somebody can go check for the availability of a train, check for which date which trains are running, and for that they don't need a security. Basically, there is a design paradigm, right, for a software engineering which say a freedom, right? We say it's a freedom heuristic, which says any portal or service, you will have some service which is free to explore, but certain service which need to be secured. You need to be logged in to do that. So that's why if you go for Amazon, if you want to search or everything, they will give you for a without doing a login. You can do the exploration. But whenever you want to place the order, you need to do the things. Other than you cannot do it. Even for a IRCTC, or even for a airlines booking, so you can explore the things. But whenever you want to do the booking, you have to go for a secure structure. You have to do the login and all. So that kind of structure, how do I design? Now, previously I told normally a class could be a public or a default. A class written as a public means it can be accessed across the packages. But if I don't write anything, it's a default. That means it can be utilized within the same package. But just to remind you that inner classes can be private also. It could be other things also, but it could be private also. But in this special situation, I'll be using it's a private thing. Okay. So what I want to do, I want let the people do the booking, right? So for doing the booking, reserving your seat, you need to do the login and do the secure operation. So for the secure operation, I keep those operation within a class. Right. So I say this is a private class within my railway class. I say this is a seat booking or just booking. Right. Suppose it's having a method, right? Public void book. So I'm asking for booking a particular seat. So I'm not writing the logic in details, but I want to generate, my objective is to generate the actual class structure so that the purpose will be understandable. So I say booked. So if I call this method, it's a booked. Okay. So normally, like I may have to specify the seat number also, right? I can have a say no, the seat number, which can be a private inside this. So I may have a constructor also here, public, whatever it is. I'm not going into these details. Okay, let forget about this. So now I want to say if somebody do a successful login, I'll give them this booking object. I'll keep them this booking object. Otherwise, the people won't be having this booking object at all. Okay. So I say if this UID and PWD this matches, then only they'll be verified. So there is a code to verify the UID, user ID, and PWD. Then I say if verified, so if login and password is correct, then only what I'll do, I'll return an object of this booking class. Then only I'll return an object of this booking class, right? So for that, what I can do, I can just create a temporary object and I can return it like this. What is temporary object? Anybody? So I may have done this booking B equal to new booking, right? Then I can say return B. Now instead of writing B, this part I have made inlined over there. That means B is a temporary. It's getting created and getting returned immediately. Right? Got it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this will have a more detailed discussion about this afterwards. Okay. But one thing to be clear, since it is a private class, its scope is restricted within the railway portal class only. So inside that, its accessibility is. So for outsider, somebody is there here, they cannot see it only. For them, it is not visible at all, right? They cannot see it because it's a private thing inside the railway. So like a private member, you cannot see. Similarly, this private class, which is inner, you cannot see from outside. So that's how. So in a simple way, if I want to create public static void main string yes. So if I want to create a object of railway portal, rp equal to new railways portal, there is no restriction. I can create an object. Oh, sorry. I'll do this. Okay. Because I have made it Boolean over here, right? I'll do it later. I just make it return true for the time. Okay. It's not a problem. I'll do that. What happened? Oh, sorry. Okay. So I can do this, but suppose I want to directly create this booking object. This is not permissible. It's not visible only. See, it say cannot find the symbol. So it cannot see it at all. It is there. Existence is hidden. So if since I cannot create the object, there is no way I can do the booking, right? So it's very secure. Now, what I want to do, if I do successful login, then it will give me the booking object, right? So I'm doing something which is wrong, but it is important to understand why it is wrong, right? So I'll create what is permissible for me, right? Then what I'm doing, I'm saying rp dot login. So I'm giving something admin comma admin, login and password. So it goes over here, then it creates a booking object and return it. Now what will happen? Shall I get the OB or not? Anyone? Have you got it? Like I'm creating an object of railway portal. Then I'm calling the login. Login will take 2 arguments. So logically it do the verification, then creates a booking object. Then it returns the booking object. So this booking object will be stored into OB. Right? Will it work now? Hello. Tell me you're getting or not getting whatever. Some response.
No, sir, did not get.
See, what you have seen that creating the booking object is not possible directly, right? That is you got, right?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm creating this booking object indirectly. I call the login. Now login function do what? It creates an object.
Mhm.
Let us go for this. It creates an object of booking. It can be created from here, right? Booking is accessible because I'm inside the same class. Now it is returning me the object. Now this B will be stored into OB.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yes,
this,
sir.
this is equivalent code, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes, sir.
creating the object indirectly.
Mhm.
But whenever I'm writing this booking.obj, Does my main know what is booking?
Mm,
No, sir.
Is booking this particular keyword still not recognizable with the main, right?
yes, sir. It's private, right?
Because it's a private.
Yeah.
So again, it will say cannot undefined symbol because this is keyword only he cannot understand. It's a
Yes.
cannot find the symbol at all. So for him, it is unknown something. So what I'll do? So here, this parent class can be doing rescue for you. So let us have a class, right? I say this is something which is again not a good practice, but I'm showing because I want to derive it step by step. Okay. So I want to say all booking. There is a class, right? There is a class. Inside of that, there is a method called as a public void book. Okay. And suppose there is a default implementation also for this. Which say something like cannot implement now. Something you can write anything. Okay. Now say I'm doing extends all booking. And here instead of booking, I'm writing all booking. Now can I access? Okay, here also I have to say all booking. Okay, even booking also will work. Now tell me, will it work? Now my first question is all booking is recognizable by the main or not?
Yes, sir.
It is recognizable because this is it is not a private class, right? Okay. Now the question is the right side, does it returns an object of all booking or not? So you go to the login, you create an object of booking, then return it, right? Now booking class is what? It's a child class of all booking. Now as per the generalization, all booking is a all booking,
All
right?
booking.
Right.
Yes,
It's a
sir.
So
parent
all
class
the
of
objects of the booking is a all booking object also, right?
Yes, sir.
So I make the object recognizable and the parent type can refer to a child type. Although I'm getting an object of booking type, that can be referred by all booking, right? Right? So even if I don't have this, till now I'm not having any problem. I can do this. Okay. Now I want to book it. Now tell me, can I book it? This line is correct or not? Just think about that. Left hand side tells you about the capability. Right hand side tells you about the implementation. Reference tells about the capability of an object. Object tells about the implementation details.
Yes, sir. We can access.
We can access everybody. Does all booking. So what is the type of OB object? OB reference, OB.
it's public. Because all booking is public.
It is all booking. Does OB have the capability called book? No, right? So book is not accessible, see. Because all booking doesn't have this book method. So it's just like I told you whenever I was talking about this. Suppose you have a class A, you have a class B which extends A. So don't forget it, it's very important. Okay. Public void F. Then you have some implementation, and here you have public void F and public void G. Then what I have shown, if you create a object OB equal to new B, right? So left hand side tells about the capability, right hand side tell about the implementation. So what is the capability of OB? You can call F and G both, and from where I should call the implementation? From B, right? So in this case, I'll be able to call both F and G. Okay. But suppose I write it as a OB equal to new B, right? Now what is the capability of object? Only F.
Only F.
And from where I should call the implementation? Implementation will be called from B.
From B.
The implementation, whatever you have done for F, that will be called, but you can call only F, right? Because your reference type is A. So that's about your capability, right? So
Yes,
that's
sir.
very important. So since in this case, the reference type, OB type is all booking, and book is not here. So you don't know about booking, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't have the capability. So if you want to have the capability, you should define it. Now you have a capability. You don't bother about the implementation. Since your object is a booking object, implementation always will be called from this. Right? So now it's calling it. Now again I go to the last day's class. Since this class do not have any implementation at all, right? So it's better to make it as an abstract class or interface. So if I just want to create it as an abstract class, say all booking, I can just keep it as an public void, public abstract void book. I don't have to unnecessarily define it, right? I say all book having the capability called book. Done. So I know there is a capability of OB, it can call the book. So it will work. So much better is, since I don't know any method which can be implemented, you can even go for having an interface. Because interface in interface, you don't have to define anything at all, right?
Yes, sir.
So you just make it this. Even you don't have to write public abstract, just write a book, because by default it's a public abstract and you're done. What happened? Oh, sorry. Extends, right? This will be
Implements.
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 Yeah, implements. Sorry. So this is absolutely the thing what you have. If you do understand, you can do any program on the inner classes. So I'm done. If you understood that, that's more than enough. Okay,
Yes,
so I'll
understood.
stop this.
Yeah. Thank you,
Uh,
sir.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
thanks. I'll stop this. He will take start. Diptangshu will start, right? I'll start the recording.